If you are considering a move right here to the Lone Star State, but you haven't decided which city that you want to live in, this video is for you. There are 4 main metroplexes here in Texas that you're probably going to consider if you're looking to move. You're going to have Houston, you're going to have Dallas-Fort Worth, Austin, Texas, and San Antonio. And they all have a lot of great things to offer because they're all part of Texas. But there are some main differences between these different cities that you're gonna need to know about in order to narrow down your search and ultimately pick the perfect place for you and your family to live. So when it comes to housing affordability, Houston, Dallas, and San Antonio are all going to be significantly more affordable than Austin. Austin has already hit its stride. Over the past couple of years through COVID, Austin prices went up over 100%. So if you're an investor and you're looking to invest in a growing market, I can see why you would look towards Austin, but you might already be priced out of that market. Dallas has experienced a ton of growth as well as San Antonio and Houston. I would say that the prices in Dallas, as far as housing affordability go, come in second to Austin. They're still reasonably priced, but they're quite a bit higher than what we're seeing in some of the Houston suburbs. Houston's gonna come in third for housing affordability. We're still seeing really great opportunities to buy brand new construction homes here in the Houston area, some even lower than $300,000. So you get a really nice family home in the $500,000 to $700,000 range that's got plenty of space for all of the kids. And then San Antonio is gonna come in last. It still has some of the best housing affordability here in Texas. All 4 places geographically are gonna be very different. We'll start with Houston. Now, Houston is the largest city out of these 4 metroplexes, and for that reason, the geography actually changes. You've got the beach down in Galveston Island, which is down on the south side of Houston, and that whole geography is gonna be the coastal plain. So it's exceptionally flat. There are trees, but they're not the massive pine trees that you're gonna see up on the north side of Houston. And so Houston geography is gonna be split. So if you're looking for the trees, you're probably gonna wanna be up on the north side of Houston. If you're looking to be down near the beach, Houston is gonna be the only city out of the 4 metroplexes that has close proximity to the ocean for saltwater fishing. A lot of people just have beach houses down there or bay houses. And Galveston is actually a really great tourist spot. When you head on up to Dallas, Dallas is gonna be pretty flat. It's got some really pretty oak trees going on there, but for the most part, there isn't a lot of topography. Now, it's not gonna be quite as humid as the Houston area because it's further up off the coast, and it is gonna get a little bit colder during the winter time. Dallas also has Fort Worth alongside of it. So as you head out west towards Fort Worth, you're gonna notice that it goes from being more East Texas piney woods over on the east side of Dallas to more of a Texas, I guess, western dry desert hill country. Now you gotta go out past Fort Worth to get that, but you are gonna see a geography change just driving from Dallas about an hour over through Fort Worth. Now if you head on down to Austin, personally for me and San Antonio are both gonna be some of my favorite geographies in Texas. As much as I love the pine trees here in the North Houston area where I currently live, I really do miss the Texas hill country. That's where you start to get these massive rolling hills. Everything is a lot more dry. It's a more arid climate, which means you're not gonna suffer through as much humidity. And even though it gets really hot there are plenty of awesome lakes to cool off in Austin. You've got Lake Austin, which runs actually right through, turns into Town Lake in downtown. So you can go paddleboarding, swimming, kayaking. You can go boating on Lake Austin. And then you can head on out to Lake Travis as well. And you can go sailboating, or you can just go out and have a good time on a wakeboard boat. You're gonna get different types of trees out there. You're gonna get like mesquite trees as opposed to your pine trees. And just the scenery overall, in my opinion, I tend to lean more towards Austin than any of the other areas. Now, San Antonio is probably the most Texas city because it is home of the Alamo. So it actually has the Riverwalk, which is a cool scenic attraction. It's fun to hang out at. I don't think a lot of locals are necessarily going to the Riverwalk all of the time or the Alamo, but if you are visiting, it's definitely gonna be a hot tourist attraction. San Antonio is gonna be the smallest out of the 4 metroplexes. So if you're looking for something a little bit smaller, then maybe San Antonio is gonna be the place for you. Some of the northern San Antonio suburbs are actually some of my favorite suburbs here in Texas. So they're definitely worth checking out and exploring to see if they're right for you. Okay, now let's talk about the vibe of these different cities. Now, I'm sure a lot of people could make this video and they probably give you slightly different takes on it, but let me kind of encompass how I feel like these cities feel. When we're talking about Houston, we're not just talking about the city of Houston, we're talking about the surrounding suburbs, and they're actually very different than the city of Houston itself. The city of Houston is massive. It's very culturally diverse. It's gonna be the largest of the 4 metroplexes, a big brewery scene in the Houston area, and then it is a huge sports city with the Rockets. You've got the Astros, you got the Texans. I wouldn't say they're huge, but they're working on it. I would say Houston suburbs are some of the most family-oriented suburbs, especially with all the master plan communities that we cover. You'll start to see what I'm talking about. I do think that Houston, if I had to rank them, Houston and Dallas are kind of pretty closely tied for some of the most family-friendly suburbs. Now, moving on to Dallas, I love Dallas. I wish I could bash it so that you would move to Houston, but like I said, my dad's lived there his whole life. It's a fantastic city. It's very clean. One of the things that I like about Dallas is some of the suburbs that I would choose to live in Dallas, they're about 15 or 20 minutes closer into the city than Houston. Houston is just bigger and more spread out. And so I do like that you can live in a nice suburb, but still be able to get in and catch a Mavericks game a lot easier. Now, Dallas has expanded tremendously just in the past 5 years. And so you're starting to see Frisco and a lot of the northern Dallas suburbs absolutely explode. You can be an hour north of downtown and it's still considered, the Dallas area, but it really isn't. Frisco is kind of like the third part of that Dallas-Fort Worth metroplex. It's Dallas, Frisco, Fort Worth now. I don't believe Dallas is gonna offer as many master planned communities as the Houston area, but it still does have some, and it does have a lot of really cool, more modern, new construction homes. The architectural styles in Houston are gonna be slightly more conservative than you're gonna see in Dallas. I personally think that the architectural styles in Austin are gonna be the coolest. You've got some very, very cool architecture in the Austin area. They call it Keep Austin Weird for a reason. Well, that applies to the homes themselves as well. Now, Dallas has a really clean vibe to it. It's not a dirty city. I think out of the 4 cities, when I drive through Dallas, it probably is the cleanest. It just doesn't feel like there's a lot of riffraff when I'm driving through Dallas. Now, the traffic and the roads can be quite congested in the Dallas Metroplex. Now, as you head on down to Austin, I think Austin has gotten very crowded in the past couple of years. Not only do you have the higher housing prices, but you also feel like it's a little bit more congested. The infrastructure in Austin just doesn't quite hold up to the infrastructure that Houston and Dallas currently have to offer because they've been bigger cities for a longer period of time. Austin has a lot of catching up to do, and at its current growth rate, I don't know exactly how it's going to do that. Now, it's really hard to argue with whether or not Austin has the best vibe out of all of these cities. I personally, when I graduated college and I was young and single, Austin was the place to be. Houston was cool, had plenty of friends living there. Same thing with Dallas, some in San Antonio. San Antonio was a little bit sleepier than the other 3. However, Austin was the coolest. Austin had kind of its hip side to it. It had its art scene, it had its food scene, and then it had all the bars to go out to. It probably had some of the best nightlife with 6th Street and Rainey Street and East 6th Street and West 6th Street. There were plenty of things to do in Austin. You also have Austin City Limits, which is a huge music festival. You have Zilker Park. You've got the river running right through the city, and it's actually clean water as opposed to the Buffalo Bayou here in Houston. Austin just geographically was a cooler place to live, and the vibe of it was great. You had a huge music scene in Austin. The music scene in Austin kicks all of the others' butts, and the theme was Keep Austin Weird, so it was okay that Austin was just different than the others. Now, what we've seen happen, if we want to dive straight into politics here, is we've actually seen that Austin has had a massive influx of people moving from California, other states, but primarily California, and the overall feel of the city has changed. Because of the tech boom that it's experienced there, it isn't quite as Keep Austin Weird. You've got a ton of young professionals coming from other states, and so you've really lost that local touch that used to make Austin really cool. Now, I haven't given San Antonio a ton of credit. I will say this, San Antonio actually is a really great place. It obviously gets tiered as number 4 in most Texas lists because it's on the smaller side. But I have friends that live in San Antonio, in the suburbs, in the hill country, and it's a really laid back, nice quality of life, pretty affordable cost of living, and there's still great job opportunities. They've got some really large companies that operate out of there, including H-E-B, which is our favorite grocery store here in Texas, and their main corporate hub is going to be based right there in San Antonio. You also have USAA Insurance based out of there. And so when we're talking about jobs, there's going to be different industries based on the different cities. So Houston is going to be known for its oil and gas, and it's also just known for some larger tech companies too. Dallas is going to be more of a tech hub, as well as enterprise software hub. And you've got some oil companies out of Dallas, but you really have the energy corridor here in the Houston area, which is what it's known for. But you do have some massive corporations in Dallas. You've got a bunch of finance companies there. And then Austin is going to be your startup and tech hub. Whenever I graduated college, one of my favorite things to do was being involved in that entrepreneurial scene and that tech scene. They've got a lot of startup accelerators for small businesses. So out of all of them, for me personally, Austin was the most fun. But if you're in oil and gas, you're probably going to go to Houston. If you're in finance, there's a chance you'll go up to Dallas. And if you're in tech, there's a chance you'll go to Austin. And then San Antonio just has some different business opportunities for you there as well. Now, going back to the climates of all of these, Dallas is going to be the coldest. So you actually get snow there in the winters. Austin and Houston and San Antonio, rarely, if not ever, do they get actual snow on the ground. So you're gonna have colder winters in Dallas. You're gonna have slightly more mild summers, not necessarily because of the temperature, but because of the lack of the humidity. San Antonio and Austin are going to be the driest. Now, that being said, it still gets very, very hot there, but personally, I think Houston is the worst when it comes to the heat, because not only do you get some of the hottest and highest temperatures, but you also get the highest humidity. And when you combine the two, what do you get? A miserable summer. Now, I know this is a very broad overview, but I hope this helps get you started on your journey of comparing the different cities. We have a lot of clients that reach out to us and they just are honest with us. They say, hey, we're checking out Dallas and Houston, or we're checking out Austin and Houston, and we're okay. We don't need you to be here in Houston necessarily. We want to help you find the right place for you. So that being said, we do these videos for people just like you looking to potentially move here to the Houston area. So if that's you, don't be shy, give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email, and then we can help ask the right questions to ultimately narrow it down and see if it's right for you. I've lived in Austin, I've lived in Dallas, I've lived in Houston, and I've been to San Antonio, and I think we can be a really, really great resource for you. So if you're looking to learn more about Houston and what suburbs it has to offer, be sure to check out this video right here. This is the top 10 suburbs that we recommend if you are going to explore Houston further. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you in this video.